Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today I want to talk to you guys about how to free your mind. So in the Tao Te Ching, chapter 48, Lao Tzu, the writer of it's basically like the Chinese, or like the Chinese Bible, right? The chapter basically says, when you learn something, or when you study, knowledge is acquired. When you do nothing, something is dropped. And then he basically says, by meaning that, he says less and less is done until non-action is achieved. And when nothing is done, nothing is left undone. So basically what he's saying is that a lot of us live in a state of constant doing. Like we're just doing stuff just to fill our mind, just to keep us busy, because we think that we're so attached to the material world that we think that by us constantly seeking, and like he says in the quote, trying to learn, trying to seek out knowledge, we actually create this sort of angst in our being, right? So basically, our modern day lives are so out of whack with nature, with just letting things take their course. We like to intervene, we like to get in the way. And basically this is the cause of a lot of anxiety, depression, mental disorders, schizophrenia, all negative thoughts, overthinking, because we're so consumed by our mind that we think we have to do things, right? We live in a culture of just doing. And so we want to start to reduce, because by the process of reducing, we start to know what the right thing to do is, moment to moment, right? I've started to really learn this by using technology. Technology has shown me that 90% of what I'm doing on the cell phone or whatever is completely just a distraction from what really is just me escaping the moment, right? That's all we're doing, really, when we're scrolling. We're just escaping the moment. We're not really gaining anything from it, right? And so this is the same. You could relate this as well to any addiction, right? Pornography, food, right? So when we're constantly seeking these things, our brains are our egos are so attached to the material world that we want to feel something. We want to get this high because it keeps us entrenched in material reality. When we start to take those things away, each day we become more we become kind of closer to God, right? When we get in nature, when we are not constantly bombarding our mind with reading, watching videos, being around people all the time, being around noise, listening to music, we start to get closer to God. We start to feel more at peace. And here's the thing, a lot of people run away from it. It's I see it so many times. For example, if I'm at an airport, or I'm at a restaurant, or I'm at I don't know, the gym or whatever. Yeah, the gym's another great example. People are they can't just be. They can't just sit and observe, right? And it's the craziest thing, because you'd think that by gaining information, sitting there scrolling, or sitting there getting pleasure from porn or food, or by hanging out with people all the time, you'd think you're progressing well. You'd think you are, you're doing it. This is the life, But It's actually not, and we start to degrade and we start to descend into darkness. Really, that's when the so-called devil creeps in, right? That's when fear, worry, self-sabotage, that's when it all creeps in. And so we should see our lives as a means of reduction, right? A slow process of reduction. And that's very the ego doesn't want to hear that. Like, you don't want to hear that. You're watching this video and you probably don't want to hear that. But that's the truth of the reality. The truth of the reality is that this material world is all an illusion, and our attachment to it is what keeps us in suffering. And so by reduction, by practicing things like seed retention, by practicing fasting, by practicing just being bored, just being in the moment, not necessarily trying to fight your mind, but just observing it. And trust me, I'm speaking of this like I think I know, like I'm the best at it. No, I struggle every single day. Don't get me wrong. I'm speaking of this like it's going to be a peaceful process, and it's very enticing, which it is. It is enticing. It's good to know what I'm conveying to you, but to really reap the benefit and to really understand the challenge of it, but also the benefit of it, you need to practice. You need to practice it. So if you're watching this and you struggle with the things of this world, addictions, mental problems, health problems, start reducing slowly. If you're watching this and you've never, and this is one of the first videos you've watched on self-improvement or whatever, start off by skipping breakfast, right? Skip breakfast. Maybe instead of going on your phone in the morning, pick up a book, right? Start off slow. Like a lot of these like yogis and saints are there to show us what's possible. Like a lot of them are completely free of attachment to anything. Look at sages like Osho, like Meister Eckhart, like who else? Ramana Maharshi, Lao Tzu, Muhammad, Buddha, Jesus. These people are there to show us the way, and we've lost it. And in every religion, and this is not just in the Tao Te Ching, every religion, it speaks of reducing, right? The more we reduce, the better we feel, the more connected we feel. Think of when you were a child. I always bring this up in my videos. But when you were a child, right? You came into the world, and from about the age of 1, I don't know, I want to say like 7. From the age of like 1 to 7, you were the most blissful you've ever been. And guess what? There were no girls. There were no friends. You had your family. You were not attached to technology, to entertainment, to movies, to social media. You weren't attached to what people think of you. You weren't attached to your own fallen thoughts. You weren't attached to food. You would eat food, but you weren't overindulgent in it. You weren't overindulgent in pornography. You weren't overindulgent in learning. You weren't constantly seeking knowledge. That's another thing with school. It's like school. I'm going off on a little rant here, but school has almost taught us the opposite of what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to learn more. We're supposed to critically think. You ever like take a test and it'll say like, oh, think critically. What's there to think about? There's nothing to think about, right? And so see your life as an undoing process. See it as a reduction process. I'm not saying that you have to be a complete like monk right off the bat, but start doing it. because and here's the thing, you'll learn over time that by reducing, that you start to feel lighter, right? There's so many times where I'll be like in a state of overindulgence of whatever, pornography, food, like social media, watching, or video games or whatever, or just trying to like learn a lot or think my way through things or whatever. And it just, every single time I entrench myself in those behaviors, it always leads to chaos. It never leads to peace. It never leads to peace. And so I'm speaking here from a decent amount of experience, but I still have a long way to go. I have many attachments, but this video is just to bring this subject of reduction to the forefront, because I think it is very important in our modern world where there's so much of everything around us, where everything's so noisy. We have music playing everywhere we go, people talking, machines moving. So we're just constantly bombarded. And I think this process of reduction will completely transform the evolution of humanity. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, please make sure to subscribe and click the notification bell to get notified when I upload. And if you have any questions, comments, anything, feel free to leave it down below, and I will do my best to get back to you. As always, I hope you guys have a good one. Peace.